I've been in the game business for about 16 years. Always licensing technology to game developers ever since the PC days. And 3 years ago, I moved into advertising, which many of my friends frowned upon and said I was going into the belly of the beast. So that's why it's so weird to be up here talking about advertising. Today, we'll talk about how to make money on advertising without losing your players, because that's what everybody's doing right now. If you go on the trade show floor, that's what it's all about. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about, there's actually two buckets at advertising. You can look at all advertising within two buckets. The first one is what we call direct response, we call it DR. And the objective is conversion. So you see an ad, that ad, the whole purpose is conversion, and the timing is right now. So, Miss Cleo, infomercials, all direct response. They got the number on there, they're hammering you, they want you to buy right now. Billboards can be direct response. In and out, go down the freeway, next off ramp, get a free oil change, a free car wash. Even search ads. Search ads are actually direct response, billions of dollars. And with digital, direct response has just gotten more and more advanced. I'm sure you guys have been retargeted. You go to a website, browse something. The next 2 weeks, you're seeing that product on every other website that you go on. And then finally, UA is direct response. So all the mobile companies in the last 3 years have really focused on direct response, specifically UA, because there's a lot of revenue there. But there's other advertising, and that's brand advertising. So it's a little different as far as the goals. The objective for brand advertising is awareness. So it's really important about how the brand is communicated and the emotions that are being communicated, because the timing for conversion for brand advertising is actually some point in the future. Now, there's a lot of brands that use a combination of direct response along with brand advertising. But for our purposes here, we're really going to talk about just brand advertising. So you can see versus direct response, we're really trying to connect with emotions, give a concept about the brand. All of these are brand advertising. So go through here. So when we look at the revenue, I think I'm supposed to use this. Hold on. Okay, so when we look at the revenue for for advertising as a whole, direct response is actually 60%, and brand advertising is 40%. And yes, these numbers are completely outrageous. This year, they expect to spend $545 billion in advertising worldwide. That little bar on the bottom is actually digital ad spend. So some other outrageous numbers, top spending countries, US, Norway, and Australia. It's $565 per woman, man, child in the United States. This year, they'll spend $565. So that's a lot of money, and there's not too many people in Norway and Australia, so we're going to focus really on US ad spending. This is a Mary Meeker's slide, and the yellow bar is actually time spent in the different mediums. So where do people spend their attention? And the blue bar is actual ad spend. So you move over all the way to the right, that's mobile, and the discrepancy there is a $30 billion opportunity in the US. And we've been really focusing in games, because when we talk about mobile, time spent in mobile is actually games. And that's why it's so important for, I think, the gaming industry as a whole to start paying attention to this other advertising revenue that's out there. So why is gaming good for brand advertising? The first one's audience. We just talked about it. Everyone's playing games. You look at the top app lists. They're all games. Viewability. So there's a lot of issues in digital right now, especially with web. One of them is viewability. They have all these eye tracking studies. Banner blindness. This is what actually people are looking on the page. It's a huge problem for brand advertising right now. Also, the below the fold issue. A lot of the big billion-dollar companies out there that are doing video ads, the biggest problem with brand advertising right now is that all the ads are playing below the fold. People don't even see them. The other reason that games are good for brand advertising, content. So you're on a news site, you're on any other content sites, and you get stuff like this. Target Pharmacy, advertising underneath a headline like this. So that's a big issue in brand advertising on other mediums. In games, there's killing and there's robbing and stealing, but you're not necessarily going to put the ad right next to it. And then finally, emotions. All the brands out there are spending millions and millions of dollars to make an emotional connection with their audience. You see all the different slogans here. What we like about games at MediaBricks is that it's the only medium that can really predict where players or audience or users are going to have an emotional moment during the playing experience, so in the game loop. And brands will pay a lot of money to connect with audiences when they're happy, they're excited, they're sad. All of those emotions they want to connect with depending on the product, depending on the brand. So how do I take advantage of this? Build an audience and know that audience. If you're building a game, it's really important to know who's actually playing that game. It could be just by the content that it's clear, but you can do other things like survey your audience, get data from login information. Really understanding who they are is very, very important. And for advertising, especially brand advertising, there's many different vertical markets that you can associate with your brand or with your game. So there's all these wacky acronyms that they use in brand advertising. QSRs, quick serve restaurants, OTCs, over-the-counter drugs, CPG is consumer packaged goods. So each one of these markets has a profile of an audience that they're really looking to connect with. And if you can show that this is my audience, your effective CPMs and just the overall value of your application goes up tremendously. Leverage game mechanics and emotional triggers. We actually don't like offer walls. We don't like offer walls. We don't like permanent buttons. Any of those things are an experience external to what the player is doing in the game. And what we sell on the brand side is a connection during gameplay, a connection to emotions. So you can, of course, you can still generate revenue from all those avenues, but for a brand, that's not what they're looking for. If you look at an offer wall, those are all direct response campaigns, right? It's a sign up, it's an email. They're looking for immediate conversions. Coca-Cola is not on there on an offer wall trying to get you to like their brand better. So you can see here, if you take those emotional moments like a high score and reward them at the time that they're getting a high score. The effectiveness of the brand during your game is much higher, and the friction to the players is much lower. They're getting something, they understand why they're getting it, it's an emotional time for them. Brand experiences must be additive to gameplay. So if you're giving away a 10% coupon at Starbucks inside your game as a reward, it's not really additive to that gameplay. It's a whole external experience, again, where you're taking the player outside of the universe that you've worked so hard to build. And then finally, match the gameplay to the brand experience. So depending on the type of game that you have, the different ad formats will work better. So if you have a puzzle game, the sessions are 30 seconds each, and you've got a high volume of players playing that, well, interstitials will probably work good for you because you've got high volumes of those. And for a player, consuming a 5-10-second interstitial after gameplay makes sense for them. It might not work for a simulation game. You're not going to be popping interstitials everywhere just because there's not a conclusion to the round. So what you're really looking for is when you look at the ad units, you really want to figure out what matches your gameplay. So what I'll do is go through a couple examples of different ways to integrate brands into your game. There's a developer, Pickpock, who's been pretty successful. They're based out of Wellington, New Zealand. And they are actually an example of the most advanced, expert level, absolutely crazy brand integration that you can do. So they have a game, Slam Dunk King, and it's actually a mobile game where you are doing slam dunks. And what they did is they worked with Oreo to take the mechanics of the game, reskin it, and then release it as a separate application in the app stores. They did a rev share with the brand, and the brand generates revenue off of this while being able to promote their Oreo cookies. So the super advanced level of this integration is Pickpock went out and got another brand, Transformers, and put Transformers in the Oreo game. So which is pretty incredible. And this game is, I don't remember the number, I think it was 50 million downloads that these guys have done on a branded game. So this is a very expert level of doing brand integrations. There's probably only a few developers that will be able to do something like this, but it's just an example of how integrated that you can get with branding. So some easier ways to integrate a brand is to look for what we call scalable media. So branding integrations are very difficult because they take a lot of work to do by both the developer and by both the brand, creating custom assets, integrating in them, updating the app, and pushing it out. A lot of developers now are able to dynamically update content, which makes brand integrations much easier. But what you can do is you can take scalable media, meaning the brand creates some assets, they put that in an ad unit, and then they push it out to some sort of network of applications. In this case, going back to the idea that you want to connect emotionally, we're talking about a rescue moment. So at some point during the game loop, a player needs to be rescued, they need help. This is an endless runner game. And in this game, or as any endless runner, eventually you die, you run out of time. And at that point, this is a great opportunity for a brand to come in and sponsor the player continuing through that game. What we've seen with these types of ad units, especially in something like an endless runner, where the context of when they're receiving it, what they're getting, for example, they're getting more time or an extra life, the opt-in rate for this is about 97-98%. So you have about 98% of the users opting into this and then getting a brand experience. So in this case, you watch a 15-second video, you get your free life, and you continue on the game. Another example is a reward moment. So this is for when a player gets an achievement. It's not just a level, they're completing a chapter. And in this case, it's crossword puzzles. Crossword puzzles are impossible to do, so it's a big achievement to complete. And in this case, Coca-Cola is sponsoring, I don't know what they're giving away there, some coins. So you get some coins after you've made this achievement. So what happens is a player, instead of firing a modal window that says, hey, great job, you have a rich media unit that says, hey, great job, Coca-Cola celebrates your moment, here's some free coins. You just see a little interstitial and you follow through and the player continues on with the experience. So as you can see, this is additive to gameplay. It's non-interruptive, meaning that it's a natural break. The person's completed a puzzle, so they expect a break to happen. And what you're doing is you're monetizing this point of the game frictionless to the player. All right, I think that's it. Any questions? Oh, okay, yeah, what's your question? Yeah, go ahead.
So going back to so emotional triggers.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so is there now sort of like a lingua franca of emotional triggers that you're now able
Yeah. So.
You know what I mean?
So what we're doing now, so we get RFPs, so the request for proposals from brands, and oftentimes like Jack in the Box is releasing a new sandwich, and they want to target people in the morning that are very active. I mean, these are real RFPs. They want to attach these. So what we do is we find emotional triggers within all the games that we work with that would associate with that feeling, like boosts, power-ups that give you energy, things like that. So we've developed a schema of all the different emotional moments, running out of coins, completing a chapter, completing a level, and what we do in turn is that we're able to go to the brands and monetize those moments for developers.
I guess a follow-up question. You had the example of the Transformers and the Oreo cookie.
Yes.
Game. That was very popular.
Yes.
So are brands now buying the moments and the users who have the moments? Like, are they paying to help make the game popular?
Right.
So people have the moments?
So the brands are actually buying an audience. That's what they're looking to do. Now, depending on the brand and what their objective is with their audience, what they want to get done, they either want video views with that specific audience, they want deep engagement, they want all these different objectives. So we have a combination of products that can actually fit the different goals for the brands.
So, are they actually acquiring audience? Like, are they like, can you go to Oreo?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
go, we've got an app. It's got some moments in it, but you're gonna have to help us acquire 500,000 people to play it.
No, they don't do that. They'll give you money.
You gotta have the platform.
Yeah,
already has
yeah,
the game.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So for branding integrations, that example that I gave you, you need an audience that's built in already. And that's what Pickpock is really good at doing. They build an audience with their basketball game, and then they took the mechanics from that and they cross-promote into that. So there's not really any UA opportunities with brands. You can't acquire users and partnering with brands. Sometimes,
They
but
had a hit game. Like, that's up to like how they make the integrated game a hit.
how do they make it?
How they get
I
that
think
social-
Mario at Pickpock has some really good connections. Yeah. All right.
Just want to make sure that I heard you right regarding
Yeah.
like sample rescue moment. Did you say 98% update?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
98% update.
98%. I'm in an endless runner. I just died,
Okay.
and I can either continue on that game, or the game will end. And to continue on, I just watch a short video.
Just want to make sure you're using the 100, right? So
What was that?
I just want to make sure.
Out of 100%, yes. Yeah, the numbers are ridiculous. And look, for us, for MediaBricks, it's not an easy thing to go and integrate with us. I mean, of course, the SDK is easy, like every 5 minutes, like everybody else says. But what we need to do is really sit down, take a look at the game loop, what's happening there, and really do placements that make sense to the player. So contextually, when they get to that point, it's something that they need. I'm in a machine gun, and I'm shooting stuff, and I run out of bullets. But Coca-Cola is going to come and give me another 100 bullets. So yeah, I'm going to opt into that, and we'll go in there and shoot more people.
But going back to the Indus Honor, so you just died. You have to watch the 15 seconds video.
Yes, that's right.
Before you restart.
Yeah.
You want to repeat that?
Yes, please.
So the question was, you've died, and you have to watch the 15-second video. So there is a drop-off of going out of the game session, and then people come back and continue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, in all your examples that you showed here, it seems like the level of integration with the publishers or the game developers is very intense.
It's not that the integration is intense, that it's not just a placement or an offer wall that you just stick there and it stays there. It's actually looking at the game loop and understanding when it makes sense to, first of all, when people are having some sort of emotion that's predictable, and also doing it in time when it's not interruptive and it gives them something that they could use.
I see. Can you tell who are the kind of developers that you're looking for in order to integrate these kind of solutions?
We're looking for any developers that really know their audience, right? They've got a game mechanic and a game theme that's really clear what that audience will be, or they've surveyed them, they have registration data for that audience, and a developer that has good content. I mean, those are really the things that we look for when we work with developers.
Does the game need to have been released and successful before you engage with the game?
I mean, it really depends. If we're working with a developer that has a really great pedigree for making games, sure, pre-launch we'll integrate with them. But if it's a developer that hasn't released a game yet, or they don't have any traffic at all, we have to wait till see what's going to happen with that game. Yeah.
What's the normal advertiser lead time, like between sort of discovery of a match,
Right.
and then actually?
So our clients at MediaBricks are actually media buying agencies. So the way the whole thing is structured, there's the client, which is the brand. They have a creative agency that comes up with all these crazy ideas, and then they have a media buying agency that has the big budgets to spend all that stuff. Those guys all buy on a quarterly basis. So somebody like a Starcom MediaVest who handles Samsung, they've got 450 million, 500 million for the quarter. A month or two before that quarter, they'll start RFPing and looking for places to spend that money. So it's usually 3 to 4 months that will happen. Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. Have a great show.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Art.
much.
Thank you.